We begin tonight with breaking news happening in the last few minutes. Police are responding to a multiple car crash. This is on Highway 395 at West Wild Rose Road. That is 9 miles north of Spokane.
Washington State Patrol says both directions of Highway 395 are shut down right now, and at this point there is no estimate on when it will be reopened. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Good to have you with us. I'm Jane McCarthy. Well, she admitted to stealing tens of thousands of dollars from Greater Spokane Meals on Wheels. Now we're hearing from some of her co-workers.
Michelle Farrell appeared before a federal judge today, and she was supposed to be sentenced, but that was delayed.
As KREM 2's Taylor Vito reports, former co-workers still used the hearing to talk about some of the harm she's done.
Farrell's facing a maximum sentence of up to 20 years in prison along with a hefty fine. She admitted to using Greater Spokane Meals on Wheels' bank account to pay for personal things. The nonprofit says even a year later after it all ended, they're still feeling the pain of it.
And I was angry. You know, how can you not be? And then just to have her do what she did is just unconscionable.
That man is a former co-worker of Michelle Farrell. They worked together at Meals on Wheels. Farrell was the organization's longtime bookkeeper, an admittedly dishonest one at that. The U.S. Attorney's Office says over 5 years, Farrell used Meals on Wheels funds to pay for personal expenses, including her mortgage and utility bills. Her damage, more than $90,000.
Oh, it's just been a real travesty for the agency and nonprofits across Spokane County.
Farrell took a plea deal in February. She was supposed to be sentenced today, but that didn't happen. Her lawyer asked for a delay, saying that Farrell may have a head injury from a previous accident where she was hit by a drunk driver. The lawyer wanted a doctor to examine her. He also argued that prosecutors are claiming an additional $8,000 that she stole from Meals on Wheels. Farrell's lawyer said that could slightly change her sentence. Now, out of caution, the judge agreed to the delay. Former co-workers who came prepared to share victim impact statements spoke anyway.
It's rattled everyone's cage, and the fact that the question of integrity is now on the table.
Meals on Wheels staff say they're still reeling from her actions. Donors have been scared away from the nonprofit. Trust has been strained, and employee morale took a hit.
Our primary mission there is to feed a homebound and vulnerable population of our seniors. And here we are having to hire forensic accountants and attorneys.
Farrell wasn't in custody during today's hearing. She'll be back in court to be sentenced for good in September. In the studio, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News.
We are continuing to follow the latest on the water contamination in northeast Spokane. We now know a few early samples tested positive for E. coli. A city spokesperson tells us they believe it was from that hydro seed that was in the water, and it is not a widespread problem, they say. The city tells us they got the test results after they already told people to stop drinking the water, and that's why they didn't update people to let them know about the E. coli. As of Sunday, the tests were negative, they said. The city says they're doing more tests on the water tomorrow.
New details tonight in the death of a Spokane doctor. The Spokane County Medical Examiner determined his death was an accident. Back in April, Spokane County Sheriff's deputies found 61-year-old Rex Porter dead in his backyard. Parts of his body were found in a fire pit, so it was suspicious. Deputies were initially investigating the cause as a suspicious death, but the investigation is now closed. The medical examiner listed Porter's cause of death as a combination of drugs and heart problems. The sheriff tells us their investigation shows a person never moved his body. Well, this shows the moment the FBI closed in on a Seattle woman accused of hacking into Capital One databases. The Department of Justice says former software engineer Paige Thompson gained access to personal information from around, get this, 100 million people in the U.S. The DOJ says she used her knowledge of servers and cloud storage to steal 14 years worth of credit card application records.
Her housemates say they were unknowingly under surveillance for months while authorities built a case around Thompson.
Angry. Why are we being involved? As soon as they said something about, as soon as I saw in the report something about computers, we all instantly knew I had to do something with Paige.
Her roommates say they think she did it just because she could. Capital One believes it's unlikely the stolen information was used for fraud. The company is now notifying affected customers, and they are offering free credit monitoring services. But here are some other steps you can take. Check credit scores annually, place a credit freeze on your account, making it harder for someone to open a new account in your name, and file your taxes early before a scammer can. Also, change your passwords often.
Good advice. It is warm out there tonight, and we're seeing a lot of warm, dry weather all across the region.
Yeah, in central Washington, in fact, that has turned into a red flag warning. Tom Sherry in the Weather Center tracking that for us tonight. Tom.
Yeah, along the east slopes of the Cascades, Mark, everywhere you see kind of shaded in red right here. That's the red flag warning until 9 o'clock tonight, obviously because of the gusty winds, the hot and dry conditions, and the low relative humidity. That means if we get any kind of a spark, we are going to see the fire move very quickly. So red flag warning in effect until 9 o'clock tonight, and then I think we'll see mostly light winds on Wednesday. Right now we're at 85 degrees. We currently have wind out of the south-southwest at 13 miles per hour. You see that relative humidity at only 15%. No humidity in the air. We do see some thunderstorms, but they're all in southwestern Montana right now. Clear skies across Washington State. Beautiful evening, and then a nice comfortable night tonight with an overnight low of 58. Pretty close to seasonal highs. 86 is the normal high. We'll get up to 87 on your Wednesday. It gets hot on Thursday and again on Sunday. Sunday's high 92. Tracking a chance of thunderstorms as we get into Thursday night into Friday morning. Also going to be breezy then. I'll have more details on that with a look at your 10-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Sounds good, Tom. Thank you very much. 41 Native American tribes gathered at Northern Quest Casino today. The reason? A conference on climate change.
People at the event say it's a way for them to voice concerns about how climate change could affect their hometowns. KREM 2's Shana Waldtower brings us more on what they're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, it's 2 days with hundreds of people talking about climate change and how we can help. Their goal is to bring a better understanding to how all of this affects Indigenous peoples. This is the Tribes and First National Climate Summit. It's been 4 years of tribes coming together from around the U.S. and Canada. Today there are about 250 people here at the casino with a common mission.
Share strategies to address those impacts, develop partnerships between tribes and state.
People at the conference say a large goal behind this event is to gather information and ideas to share with the larger community.
I think for Washington State, whether you're on the east side or the west side, climate change doesn't have a barrier, nor does it recognize the mountains.
Environmental activism is something they say Native Americans are taught from a young age, through examples from commercials like this one that you might remember.
People start pollution.
A whole generation, in our age group grew up seeing that Iron Eyes Cody standing by the freeway in California where garbage was being thrown at his feet.
Now today, forestry, fires, and fishing, they're all topics on the agenda, along with how climate change could affect these people's way of life.
So there's 573 tribal nations that are place-based societies, which mean when we have environmental impacts to our lands, we just cannot pick up and move to another country.
They say climate change affects everyone, but because tribes are essentially stationed in their areas, these people would feel most of the effects.
To be able to hear our stories, not a debate on who's causing it, why it's happening, but to share with them our story, to see that there are environmental impacts to Indigenous communities across this great nation.
Speakers say representatives from this event will be sharing ideas from it with Congress and other climate change agencies once the conference is over. Shana Waldtower, KREM 2 News.